maybe like get it right on you, maybe. You ready? You sure?
Yeah, I'm in the agenda.
Alrighty, I want to call the meeting to order. All the aldermen are here. Kurt Strickland is on his way, so he'll be here momentarily, although I think Melissa has been marked absent for the time being, correct?
He's here.
Oh, there we go. All right. Anyway, I've got our attorney, Rocky Eaton, our clerk, Melissa Martin here as well. If I could get Craig Bullock to lead us in the first pledge.
Let's pray. Father, we thank you for today. Thank you for the beautiful weather you've graced us with. And God, we thank you for the opportunity to be here and the privilege to live in our wonderful city. God, I pray that as we discuss tonight and we make decisions, that it'll be so to glorify you in all that we do and say. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your forgiveness. It's in Jesus' name that I pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If they just want to talk to you after the meeting. Alrighty, I need a motion to adopt the agenda with the additions of the paperwork that you see before us, which is just simply a memorandum of understanding with the Mississippi Outdoor Stewardship grant that we were approved of. And that amount for the Matthews Branch sidewalk, $261,890. That's on a reimbursement basis, as is the rest of that grant that is coming from MDOT. We'll add that as number. Okay, we will put that as number 15.
And with the withdrawal, number 4.
And with the,
Amend to the withdrawal.
and then we'll move down to a single item that's under the request resolution, granting tax exemption for that particular property. We'll take that out and add number, well, I guess that would actually be number 14 now, but anyway. Can I get a motion taking care of that?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All righty, is there a motion to accept the agenda, consent agendas numbers 1, 2, and 3?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All righty, public comment. Hey, Steel Kids, come on up here. What is going on?
Hello, Board of Aldermen and Mayor Decker. We are here because yesterday evening we didn't get to speak about a matter that will directly affect our lives. As children, we can't fully understand the 50% rule, these FEMA regulations, or the appraisals that are a bit confusing. However, if one rule doesn't apply to the situation, the other rules still matter. I mean, it's like someone avoiding a traffic ticket and then thinking they don't have to stop for a stop sign. It doesn't make sense to think that the other rules are irrelevant.
If that old building catches on fire, all this house goes with it and all my things would be gone.
Exactly, because this structure is sitting on the property line. It is clearly unsafe. This nearby building could become a restaurant with a drive-in, a bakery, or a number of other businesses. One mistake could set it on fire, and our house would burn with it. I live next door, and my family and I have watched 106 Stevens Street slowly decay, collapse for the past 7 years. I also don't understand why the rules aren't applying to us and keeping us safe. Don't they keep other families safe? It doesn't make sense why they're not applying, and it should be equal to everyone. If your families were in danger, then I hope you will be able to count on the city's ordinances to protect you. And in this case, I hope we can count on the board to make the right decision regarding Property 106. Your actions will affect our lives and the lives of many other citizens. All we are asking of you is to enforce the rules the same way for everyone, including us. Thank you, Board of Aldermen, for hearing us, and please do the right thing.
Thanks, gang. All righty, Chris, come on up.
Okay.
Board, Mayor, thank you for allowing me to speak because apparently I was not allowed to yesterday. So a lot has been raised about this one building in our area, but this one building has been a prime example of what has been allowed to go on, to my knowledge, for a number of years by this board. And the one thing that has been brought to my attention is non-compliance with FEMA floodplain management policies and ordinances that this city has adopted. So I'd like to read to you a notification that was sent to the citizens of Belt, Montana. This notification was sent to them because the City Council of Belt, Montana did not adhere to the floodplain ordinances set out by FEMA that they adopted. So FEMA notified them that due to their noncompliance, they were eligible to be put on probation. What does that mean? Probation for not applying to these floodplain ordinances means that every policyholder that has National Flood Insurance Plan through the federal government, their insurance planning would increase by $50, and they would get a notification doing so and explaining why. Now, following that, if the city council does not take measures to rectify the reasons they were put on probation, they can have a possibility of going on suspension from the National Flood Insurance Plan. Suspension means that any building that has national flood insurance through the federal government loses it. They cannot renew it, they cannot get a new policy, and among other things, no federal grants or loans for development in identified flood zones can be given. No federal disaster assistance will be provided to repair structures damaged by a flood in a flood zone. No federal mortgage insurance or loan guarantees may be provided in flood zones. And all FDIC-insured banks and lenders must notify loan applicants for insurable buildings in flood zones that the property is not eligible for any federal disaster relief, not just floods. So we're talking, if we lose our eligibility for this plan, if we become suspended, we lose any hope of getting any money from FEMA. If a hurricane rolls through and tears some roofs off, if that house is in a flood zone and we are suspended, FEMA will not pay them a dime. So that's the consequences we're talking about of not adhering to the ordinances that this city council adopted. I live in a flood zone. I have a vested interest in this. I've been flooded out of my house once and I didn't have flood insurance. I don't want to go through that again. It cost me over $20,000 out of my own pocket to repair my house. And it's a 900 square foot house. So flood insurance is really important to everybody that lives in a flood zone. And we need to take this seriously. I yield my time. Thank you.
Okay, Chris. Alrighty, no proclamations and resolutions, no bids and quotes, no old business. General business, request to accept Jeffco Recreation and Construction as a sole source provider for Miracle Recreation Playground Equipment and authorize a purchase order in the amount of $52,774.50 for miscellaneous parts, replacements on the playground at Hinton Park. Thank y'all for putting that, per Josh Young. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Josh, what we got?
All the flooring that's on the playground has mostly been rusted out. And it was here recently, the coating started coming off and you could see the rust on there. And once that started happening, it started falling apart. And so I did what could to keep it safe. And as of right now, that's what it's gonna cost to replace all the flooring and get it done back to safe and ready to play on.
Best guess, if we're looking at replacement, because obviously we knew we couldn't find some stuff, we're talking $250 per park, so $500,000. Obviously, I think we believe that the one across from the Y is holding up a little bit better, but
It's a whole lot better.
we're not gonna get like 7 years out of it probably, but that one's probably a little more attention there.
No, this one
This will
definitely,
help us
definitely.
to buy some proverbial time.
Yes, I would say more around the 300,000 to 400,000.
Okay.
Oh,
I was gonna say,
Per
something
one.
you and Melissa got together, but, anyway, do that when I'm on vacation or something. But anyway, the splash pad has been a hit, so I admit that I was wrong. Anyway, thanks, Josh. Any questions for him along that line? All right, you got a motion, got a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Number 6, request to refund bond in the amount of $1,500 for T Sims, whoever that is. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Oh, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 7, request to pay estimate number 5 in the amount of $2,638.63 to Grady Crawford Construction for Eastover Sewer for SDW. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
That'd be you, Kim, not you.
Eastover,
Oh, that's your ward, you said.
that's close to your ward.
Actually, it's outside the city limits.
Yeah, true.
So,
Yeah.
Steve should be here next month, he's a supervisor.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 8, request to accept supplemental agreement number 3 with Grady Crawford Construction for Eastover for SDW.
motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm not going to even ask you, chief. Request to refund bond in the amount of $1,000 for J. Simmons.
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I take that back. I was thinking it was 2 Simmons instead of us, so anyway. It doesn't necessarily mean anything bad. It's just, so anyway. Number 10, request to accept engineering agreement with Shell Darren and Waits for 2024 street overlay, which I should have the streets, any day now. Anyway, is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second for discussion.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just, I know we go through this, we did this pretty well 2 years ago, but one of the things that really was highlighted in the last iteration was lane marking and painting. And that's part of the standards that we come out and I appreciate the last, contractor putting up those temporary, yellow flippers, and they're temporary and they're called temporary. But I think, a lot of residents get confused because they broke off within about a month and a half and they turned
Some
into
of them last
plastic.
longer, and then some of them, like the ones on 3 Mile, stone.
Yeah, so that's,
I think there may be a chance to add those back to 3 Mile, so I had a request on that as well.
We
And
got,
I don't
I've
think
got at
it's
least
real.
3 requests.
I don't think it's.
I would actually,
At all.
because I think you kind of highlighted, residential roads are not typically marked at
Yeah.
all.
So
So,
certain roads, they just typically, engineers will say, okay, this one gets it, this one doesn't.
yeah, but I think, that even those, if we are to accept that as a standard marking system, and that's actually a contractual item, the actual term itself, those are temporary. And so I don't want to pay for a temporary marking. And literally, and yes, some of them last longer when they don't get run over, but the majority of them get run over. They just turn into plastic.
Ward 4 runs over them like crazy. Ward
Yeah, they're like hitting the
3
target.
and 4 run over them like crazy. They
I'm
don't
right
last
here.
as long.
So you just want to say, like identify either we're going to standardize. I think I appreciate what you said before, like, residential roads, they're anything under 35 normally do not get.
Yeah, there's
Lane
some main
markings.
drags that
Yep.
should have them, and we should have that conversation of what are we getting?
And maybe the main drags,
The better glue.
we actually put the glue or actually do the painting, because I'd rather invest in painting on the main drags than those yellow flippers, which again, I think if those are considered permanent markings for what we paid for last time, I think there's debatable that we probably.
I think of one of them that they stuck for a long time, but 3 Mile just didn't stick around.
But that's, I
We
don't,
had that conversation.
that's just good
Maybe we'll
feedback
go
from.
through that kind of stuff for
There's
sure.
dark spots on Carton on 3 Mile.
And via, just information, Melissa believes we'll have around 1.5 million. You're gonna see a bid request go out closer to 1.8. So hoping that we can play the lessening cost of asphalt to our advantage. So, Melissa and I have also had the conversation of maybe it's a little lower, but not 1.5. And then we would bring that to you and say, hey, we need another 50 or 100 to get what we want. Well, Melissa said she'll find the money.
But the cost has gone up $50,000 a mile in 3 years.
Any curb and gutter, neighborhood or street is always gonna cost more as well.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to have conversations with Barrontown as well to see if I know they've got some water projects, so I'm a little leery of that. I think people will buy if you tell them, sorry, you missed this paving because we're having a water project, we'll cut you next time, and then we might have to shuffle some stuff around. But we'll have that conversation whenever, hopefully by next meeting, we'll be able to have looked at that between now and then. I assume it'll be about, after you do the bid process and everything, probably in August, paving. So anyway, still one of the bigger projects this city's ever done. I know from a financial standpoint, the cost standpoint, not quite as many roads in the past, but, had always said that we had done $1 million, I think, in our entire time, that's my entire time, and we borrowed the money to do it. But this board has been very proactive and we're not scared of the bank, but we try not to ride by them when we're coming to meetings, but anyway, nothing against our banks, but anyway, at some point, we'll have to make those decisions, but anyway, appreciate everybody's forward thinking on this. We got a motion, got a second, all in favor?
Okay, just one,
Oh, yeah.
the last bid, we had a basic extension, we had kind of, they could have started as early as, 1 August, but we actually had it no later than like 1 February, or it was in the following year, so which
Yeah.
gave us the opportunity to open up the bids, because it allowed us to kind of play bidder against bidder, or, contract
Allow
against
them to
contract, so,
schedule it,
so
and
if
the
we,
pressure of starting like
yeah, so I think
next month.
if we maybe consider that as another option, I know we might
Yeah,
not start.
not a problem with that at all.
I mean, might not start paving on 1 August, but if we can get the 1.8.
Yeah.
For it, but it won't be done until next spring.
Yeah.
But worst case, then maybe that gives us more competition, so, keep all the sticks in the fire, because I think that worked out to our benefit last
Yeah.
contractual.
Yeah, I think, especially then, the pavers were so, they have so much business to do. They would probably been fearful of saying, hey, I can't commit to something in the next 3 months, but hey, 9 months from now I don't mind scheduling y'all. But yeah, absolutely, it is out there, but, anyway, thank you for bringing that up. Got a motion, got a second, all in favor? Number 11, request to adjust water services billed at 380 Leeville Road in the amount of $240 and late fees in the amount of $48.94 due to a leak. There a motion?
Motion.
There a second?
Second.
All right, got a motion, got a second, and we checked, specifically. We're gonna actually ask her to show us the paper at some point. We got a motion, got a second, all in favor? Number 12, request to cancel 1/16/2024 authorizations to transfer those PIN numbers to William King III based on the finding that his prior donation of these parcels was a mistake, and request to authorize the city attorney to draft a letter to the attorney general requesting opinion on property of city transferring said parcels to William H. King III based on the finding that his prior donation of those parcels was mistaken based upon finding that said parcels are surplus property. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, and let me give you some discussion. So you pretty much have already authorized this in the past. And when he came here, we authorized, hey, let's transfer these parcels because it was a mistake. But there were these bad AG opinions out here, and you authorized me to write a letter to make sure it was okay before we actually did the transfer. So all of that was disclosed to the Attorney General, and they didn't like the way we did it. They didn't like the fact that it was authorized, even though an incomplete transaction was waiting on them. So my solution is to undo the authorization, the transaction, but to still, that you're still by this, if you pass this motion, authorizing me to rewrite the same letter, and I'm gonna send it to them this week if you authorize me to do it. And we're just gonna send it. So we're not giving up on what we wanted to do, but they've thrown up a roadblock, and we're just gonna try to go around that roadblock, just still try to get the same relief that you guys wanted. So that's my explanation for that.
Not to say that state's a roadblock, 'cause that's, we're on YouTube, but,
Sure.
it
was, I'm not afraid to say that I believe they misinterpreted the law, but go ahead.
Edit that.
may I just ask that same action for that same board, we also accepted parcels, is that transaction still good? The ones,
Yes.
the ones out by the intersection of 42 and 042?
Right.
That action where we accepted the new parcels is still good.
That's right, because that was a separate item, we accepted it separately, and here, all we're saying is, I'm asking that you cancel the 1/16 authorization, which was the authorization that you gave in the board meeting.
Okay.
So, yes, I think we're only canceling the transfer back to the Kings, and then, I'll rewrite this letter and see what they say.
Yeah, as long, because I think, my recollection, I didn't look back it up, I thought that action, we did it as a combined one action versus
Two
two.
separate.
We did two, okay, thank you.
But we addressed them at the same time,
Yeah,
and it was something that we had discussed at the time, and you had actually kind of lumped them together, and she and I had commented at the time that was something that we had debated, but that's why we both had to know that it was two separate items.
That's all I have.
Already got a motion, got a second, all in favor? All right, number 13, request to. Well, I'll say 13. The request to send requirements for sidewalks on Adelines at George subdivision located at North George Street due to sidewalks interfering with existing city infrastructure. There a motion?
Motion.
There a second for discussion?
Yes.
Who we want first? Matt?
Yeah.
Matt. What's up, Matt?
So the sidewalk that's supposed to put in, you have a 2-inch line that's about 3 or 4 foot off the road. Then you have the sewer line, which is about 1.5 feet past that. And then you got a 6-inch main water line about maybe 1.5 to 2 foot in that wingspan of that sidewalk. So if you lay that sidewalk down there, the sidewalk is gonna cover all 3 lines that's running through there. And now, if it gets laid, that's fine, but just keep in mind, it's gonna be dug up. If a line breaks or whatever, we're gonna have to dig that whole sidewalk up
And replace the concrete.
and replace the concrete.
Would it be too late to entertain the idea of curbs after we've already granted that variance?
Yeah, I think so. You've already granted that variance. But the variance from curb and gutter. Yeah, I think it's too late to grant that, or to renege on that.
All right, any other questions?
So that basically establishes that entire parcel that's coded R4 will not have, because that 6-inch line goes all the way from
It
the
goes
intersection
from
all the way down to the
first to second.
percent. Yeah. Otherwise, the sidewalk will be 20 feet into their yard, about 3 feet from their front steps.
At least.
If they had yards.
Yeah, that's.
Be handy during grass cutting season.
And I mean, we can look at different options of culverts. But it's already, I mean, it drains pretty decent as it is, but, I mean, I don't think sidewalks is the right thing to put in, because eventually we're gonna have to, we're already gonna have a hard time when he puts his driveways in. Because if it busts underneath his driveways, then his driveways are coming up.
We have that all over the city, including my neighborhood.
So, thank you, Matt.
Yes.
I don't necessarily have a solution for this, but I do want to push on the board just the importance of future expansion in that area and, kind of setting the trend correctly. And I know you guys are aware of what's happening. The reason I brought up curb, and I agree with what Rocky said, and I'm not disagreeing, but I wonder if there's a way to perhaps negotiate with the developer, because I have a feeling they would be more willing to go with curbs and gutters rather than these sidewalks. They're a lot faster and easier and more affordable to make. That might be a potential negotiation that could be had, and it would set a much nicer trend moving forward with the development in that area.
Matt, who asked for the recension? You or Amy?
That was me.
Well, it's him, and then he notified Justin of what it was, and that's when Justin filled out the paperwork. Yeah,
He was willing to.
I mean,
do
the
it,
other
but
thing
couldn't.
that we talked about in the past, I think we're fine doing whatever we would do if that ever comes to fruition, but I don't think you ever, other than a phone call on that, who knows?
Is will the curb and gutter that, General's talking about be a problem? If that were installed, do you foresee any problems there?
Yeah, I don't really, I mean, it's hard to say, in that area.
Okay.
It all depends on how much water is trapped on the
4 or
back.
5?
It's fine.
I mean, and to answer Gerald's question, I don't think there's anything wrong with if the city wanted to try to negotiate it. I just don't think the city can require it. But there's nothing wrong, because I do remember the developer saying, he wanted to do something nice. It seemed like he wanted to put the sidewalks in because he felt like that was nice. And so it's conceivable to me that the city could convince him, Amy or somebody, that, hey, curb and gutters, even though we can't do sidewalks, curb and gutters not only is a better price alternative for you, but we still think that it's gonna look nice and you're gonna think it looks nice, I don't have a problem if we do that as long as we're not required, so.
I know there was some kind of issue with the water flow
that his engineer found with the curb and gutter, but he is scheduled for his preliminary plat meeting on the 26th, next Tuesday. So between now and then, I can probably get with him and see exactly what it is. Because the plat will have to come before the board
Anyway.
after that meeting.
Yeah, give that a try.
Anyway, for the matter at hand, what y'all think? Or I guess I should say, you got a motion, got a second? I guess I should say,
If I could recommend maybe just holding off on that, because that's kind of our bargaining chip in the process to let them out of the sidewalk.
I don't really know that we should be belaboring this any longer than we have, and it's pretty, I mean, I think it's a pretty simple request. See, I'll do what y'all want to do. I mean, we're fine. I think Amy's willing to pass along any information to him, but the rest of the neighborhood doesn't have either of these things.
I think he was very genuine when he was here talking to us that, you know, and I think in good faith, I mean, I hate to like rope a dope and hold something over someone's head. And reality is, if he says no to the curb and gutters, we're still gonna tell him no to the sidewalks, because I don't wanna put sidewalks on stuff that we're gonna tear up and dig up. And as much as I want sidewalks, I agree with you. We just cut through the chase and be honest, be transparent to the guy, and say, hey, let's try to improve the whole area. We're willing to work with this, and I think that would go further than, like the mayor says. I mean,
Well, if negotiating with people is not my strong suit, so I trust you on that.
If I could move water lines, I would, and sort of, but I can't.
We talked about those water lines. Is that the 2-inch line you're talking about that needs to be cut over to the 6-inch so we can tear out the 2-inch? No, that's a different one.
What they're made of, how old they come from.
so
So we decide what your motion be.
I think that motion,
You motion.
we second it.
Yeah, just keep it in.
Okay, just keep it as is.
We vote.
And,
We have a vote.
and bring that conversation up during the plat discussion.
Please.
I got a motion, got a second, all in favor? Any opposed?
I didn't think we'll do it right.
Number 14, request to declare, Matt, don't sit down too quick. Request to declare an emergency and contract Grady Crawford Construction for point repair on the sewer line by the Carterville Baptist Church. You will have noticed that we've got a bypass pump over there. We put 2 new pumps in there, so we thought we were good to go, but we've got a point repair we need to do. Sand was getting into the system, so this would, it's a little deeper than Matt can get after, what, 10 foot deep or so, 10 foot?
I think it's right there at 11 and a half, somewhere along there.
So that's what that is. If you guys have any questions, 20,000? Spitball number, obviously they get in there and they can find more issues, but that's what we think we're dealing with. And then we turn the pumps out and then.
Yeah.
And then Carterville will be glad that they, I guess that pump's not that loud. They can still go over your bins here.
Yeah, I mean, it's loud, but everywhere is, you know, they're away from it far enough to where it's not really, it's just more annoying than anything.
All right, got a motion, got a second, all in favor?
All
We
right.
don't have any of that. We don't have a motion or a second. You just started.
I thought we did have a motion in a second.
Uh-huh.
I sound like, okay, motion,
Motion.
second,
Second.
all in favor?
All right.
Thank you.
Let's just thank you. Seminars and travel, orders and ordinances, number 15, request to adopt ordinance amending sections 7.53.01.5 and 7.53.01.5 A of the zoning ordinance allowing banners and feather flags for churches and property zoned industrial per G Steel. Is there a motion? And
I don't know if the board is really ready to vote on
oh,
tonight.
good one, okay.
I did
We'll
want
open
to
up
kind
the
of,
discussion then, yeah.
yeah, I wanted to present it to everyone so that you could talk to your constituents, and maybe get some feedback. I don't know if y'all have already done that or not, or if you're ready to vote on this, but, I have been looking at the ordinances, and the way it's set up right now. And when I drive around town, I see where there are feather flags and we are allowing it to happen, which kind of tells me how we feel about that matter already. And this would just be solidifying that into our code. And then as far as industrial zones, I could be wrong about this, but I think Ward 1 is pretty much the industrial zone.
So, isn't it, that's about, Highway 11 is really the only industrial we've got, isn't it?
Yeah, and quite frankly, it's ugly. And we don't have very many businesses. We have a scrapyard, we have the cannabis place, we have a car place, and we have a construction place and a private junkyard. And they're ugly. And those flags are prettier than the industrial lights, honestly. They're a way to get people's attention. They're a way to be a little more festive. And I don't see it as being intrusive if it was in the commercial area in our downtown. That's an area that's not going to interfere with traffic, that kind of thing. And of course, I'm not asking for the to change the condition of the flags. They have to be in good condition, not sun faded and that kind of thing. So anyways, I wanted to throw that to the board for consideration. And I hope that you inquired with your constituents about the consensus on that. And I strongly feel that with churches, they're never out there forever. It seems to be more like a seasonal thing they do for
VBS, that type of thing.
Yeah, and I think that the community here welcomes that.
Here's the only issue I have with this is that if we do, I'm fine with doing this, but I think if we do it for two people or two groups, we need to do it for everybody with stipulations. I know we would be going back to an ordinance that we had done away with, but I think we need to do it for everybody with stipulations that whatever we want to put in there, like flags have to be in good condition. You can't block traffic with them. Step 1, step 2, or rule 1, rule 2, rule 3, rule 4. You must follow these rules if you're going to have flags. And just, of course, will that put an enforcement issue upon the city? Yes. But if we're going to allow two groups to do it, what about the businesses that say, well, you have them, that they get to do it, they get to do it. Why can't we do it? That's not right. So how do we respond? Yeah, but you're not a church or you're not an industrial. Well, so what? I'm not. Still doesn't matter. I want a flag too. So
Mike hits on something that I have a concern about. And, businesses have a right to commercial free speech. That's what it's called. And we are discriminating against some types of entities and not others. And of course, there are only instances where we can do that. But here, it's not that we're saying that some things are okay for one zone and then not another, because we're essentially saying it's okay in the industrial zone, and then it's also okay in industrial and commercial zones if you're a church, which seems like we're favoring speech for a church. That's gonna require research if we can do that, but it's already suspect in my mind based on the First Amendment. So I have a problem on a First Amendment basis, and it's not because I'm some crazy liberal, it's just that I wanna keep us out of lawsuits, and I will.
You're just regular crazy. Right?
Yeah, that's right, and I just wanna, just try to advise you and keep us out of trouble. So I've got a commercial free speech problem with this proposed ordinance because of the way it distinguishes between churches that are located in commercial and residential areas in the city and others. So that's one problem I have as your city attorney with it. The second thing, and I don't want to disagree with Gerald unnecessarily on this point, but I gotta, as far as safety and distractions, I talked to Amy originally, why did we pass this ordinance? And there were two main reasons. The main reason was the distraction, and then the second one was they were becoming old, and and it's hard to keep up. So on the enforcement side, and the distraction thing makes sense. And I was kind of with Gerald on some of the arguments he was making, except for the fact that yes, that we actually, I think, and Amy can correct me, but I'm pretty sure that we actually have two industrial zones, one there along 11, and then one out by the gas plants, probably along Chapel Hill Road, where nobody's at, basically. Not a whole lot of commercial business. But here's the problem that I have with banners, these dangerous banners at that intersection. If you're from Petal and you've lived in Petal almost all your life like I have, I've known, I went to church with somebody who killed somebody at that intersection there. If it wasn't that intersection, it was the one that's just like it over there on Bowie Street. So to me, to have something twirling around at that very dangerous intersection, I'll tell you that I use that intersection a lot. I come from my house on the north side of town, and I'll be coming down 11, And when you're headed south on 11, you don't have to stop for anybody. That's just the way it's built. Whereas, you know, when you're coming the other way, you do have to stop. I can't tell you how many times as the people are coming from Petal and they make that sharp left turn, and as I come by the gas station, how many people want to and about knock me off? Can you imagine how much worse that's going to be with a twirling sign over here on the right? You know, I know that man needs to advertise his business, although he's, you know, one thing is that he's got a unique business in Petal. He has no competition. So I hope that would be, you know, a good attraction for him. But anyway, practically speaking, that's not necessarily from the legal side. My legal concerns are the commercial free speech. But just on the practical side, that intersection to me would seem like the wrong place where we would want to start putting in twirling signs, just because of the danger of the intersection. But that's what I think that there may be an enforcement problem, but Mike hit on that, and Amy could tell us, I don't know, if the enforcement on that is gonna be through our building department, we're obviously can't do that right now. And are we gonna put this enforcement on our police department? I don't know that, I'm not used to seeing them enforce sign ordinances, so, and I can't see the chief, so I'm sure he had a good face on behind the podium. Yeah. So anyway.
He's hiding from you instead of me. All right, any other thoughts?
Well, if you know, we either gotta enforce what's in the code or just say it's not enforceable, or go all out and say yes. And limit, maybe, you know, you say yes to, you know, to no or location by zones, but again, you know, when you have something written down, and you don't enforce it, but it's on your code book, you know, whether you have the personnel do so or not, you know, it's not consistent with businesses, and businesses need consistency to do well. And again, but you're right, every summer VBS, we see all signs pop up and grant openings, and it is a good highlight that no things coming, but.
Oh, well, can I say something real quick? There's something in the ordinance that I think is an exception for that, and I'm sorry, but you brought that point up, and I think you did too, and I meant to address that. I think that VBS is an exception under the statute. If you look at the statute, and it was included, special occasions are okay. What our ordinance seems to, and I can read it from you, it even uses special events.
The definition of special events would be, if it's a grand opening, if they come before the board and ask specifically, could we have this sign up for 1 week or 2 weeks? Then I think it falls within that.
I don't even see where they have to ask. I didn't see that in the ordinance. It just says that this section is not intended to regulate non-commercial displays intended for special events or occasions such as open house, grand openings, or ribbon cutting. So what I read from that is not that they have to come before the board for that, and that it can be a special event, and what's listed here is not the exclusive list of special events. Now, so I think the VBS could fall under that, but to have a feather sign in front of the church 24/7, 365 days a week, no, that's wrong. It's gotta be a special event.
All right, it's a grand opening we have or something like that, you know.
Yeah.
And that for a short period of time, if that grand opening lasts 6 months, then we, you know, that's probably where our enforcement.
What would probably, that's no longer a special event. But I mean, we definitely had, I mean, I've been to stores that had grand opening event. That was multiple days long. I mean, you know, it's a big business and not everybody can get there on the same day. So I think VBS is still okay.
And businesses can still use that marketing technique temporarily
Short
for
term.
the short term. So I guess the definition of short term is where we have some flexibility with the enforcement team and.
Right, but I don't think that somebody, and I'm gonna, you know, say in the industrial zone, could say, I got a special event every Saturday afternoon. I mean, that's kind of pushing the
I mean, like
limit.
the closing sales that are every day except for 1 week out of the year.
There you go.
I honestly, I think that feather flags should never be a substitute for a signage out there. You need proper signage, but if you have a special event, and I'm talking about a week at the most, then that's a very attractive way for a business to bring attention, because it's not up there 24/7, 3 days a week. It's up there, wow, what's happening now?
Well,
Something
and it
special.
won't deteriorate, which was our second concern when we passed the ordinance, is because it's so short term, deterioration is not the same factor that it would be if it were permanent.
I think we give Valerie one bullet, one gun, chief, and she just found her an enforcement officer.
I've got one in mind for you. How about that?
Unless you get the taser, huh?
Well, those are actually some really good points. I appreciate y'all considering it. I would ask that you guys just kind of keep the wheels turning on that for a little bit, because it's clearly a little more complicated than I originally thought. But y'all have raised some good points. I appreciate that.
I think it was for discussion only, so I don't think we have to table it, because that means we'd have to bring it back.
Great, yeah. Thank you. In the mayor's report, bridge to recovery,
Oh,
was that the most, after when we tumbled that little thing before, it would like tumble, it didn't.
yeah,
That's already in there.
I'm gonna literally count all the people that, for every entry in there was a purchase made. It wasn't people just being able to go in the store and fill out a form and say, I'm in there for $500. Everyone represented a purchase, and that tiller was absolutely full to the brim. I know that Saturday at Adams, you literally could not find a parking space out there, which I think is awesome. So the people stepped up, everybody stepped up and supported those businesses. I hope they continue to do it for the remaining period of time we have, but I think they all felt the love from Petal that we came out and said we understand.
Awesome, appreciate that. I would, Blake, I don't know if I can say this, Craig May, I know you had talked about, we've got several issues such as this flag ordinance and other issues that we need to talk about. If there's no objections, next time you get an agenda, under the word adjourn, you will see workshop. And it'll just be allowing people knowing that we are now, after we say motion to adjourn, once we shut it down and turn YouTube off, that we will leave a space for us to talk about any issues that we need to talk about offline. Something that may happen next meeting or may never happen. If y'all have any objection to that, I know we just give us some space to be able to talk. I don't think any of us mind talking on camera, but we don't want to fill up YouTube where somebody has to find something important with all of us pondering great thoughts of grandeur. Also, and we've done this on occasion, life is short. Over the last little bit, we've had 3 fantastic people leave us in our community. Madeline Short, Timothy Brewer, and Billy King. And one thing you would notice if you looked up what was their ages, all the way from 19 to in their 80s. And I've got a feeling if you talk to any of the 3 of them, that even Mr. Billy King would say that life is short. So, so just a thought. Ask that the city continue to pray for these folks, and just love on them. If you think about them, and you're afraid you're going to bother them if you call them, do it anyway. Call them and love them.
Can I add,
They're wanting to.
Zach Hinton and his family.
Zach Hinton was another one. Thank you.
He was on stage singing at church one Sunday, and he was gone the next Saturday.
And I would say, I believe it was Nikki Rao, who was the sister-in-law of our former police chief. So if any of the aldermen run across something y'all would like us to put on the agenda, I know that the city of Hattiesburg has an in memoriam. It probably would hurt to put that on there as well. I overthink things. I always think I'm going to miss somebody, and I don't want to disrespect anybody or any of that kind of stuff. But anyway, just some thoughts. But anyway, thanks for your diligence in serving your community. And if there's nothing else, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
I want to ask you a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Look at this. Go ahead, Ms. Adams.
Let's pray for everybody. I got some death in my family that died yesterday. I didn't even know it until today. They called me. They don't live here, but you know, there's a lot of people leaving here. And like I tell everybody, we don't know when we leaving here. We here now, but we could be gone in the next few minutes. So we need to pray for everybody because we never know when some family member's gonna leave him. So we just need to pray for everybody. I pray for everybody when I lay down at night. And I pray that the Lord wake us up in the morning. If he don't, that's all right. You know. And so we just need to pray. And you need to get on one accord. We need to have a prayer meeting. A parent need to have a prayer meeting. I mean a prayer meeting. Y'all know what a prayer meeting is? The city, everybody in the city get together and pray. Pray for one accord. That's what we need to pray because we're living in. and they ain't old, they all ain't old that's living here, they young. So we need to pray, and I pray every night, y'all just pray.
We are going to remind you again, April 4th, 6 to 8, come and go. We're gonna have some old pictures, some video interviewed of some folks that were very important around, the forming of our city. We're fixing to be 50. Not
I
many
know
people
that's
say
right,
that.
cause I got a lot of old pictures that just gone from here. And y'all didn't spell Graves Crossroad right, y'all got GRAG right, that's not Graves Cross, that's not Graves.
Where'd you put that at?
It's GRA white, y'all got it on here on number 7, and that's supposed to be Graves, y'all got GRA
Oh,
right.
that's, Grady Crawford.
What is that?
Number 7 is.
Is that Graves?
That's a
Dude, that's
construction
Grady.
company.
What is that at?
They're doing, that's a company that does sewer work.
Oh. Well, I was wondering, what was that? I thought I heard you say something about Graves Crossroad, and I couldn't find it.
I was talking too quick, I'm sorry. Anyway, there's nothing else, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
There, motion second, all in favor? All right, thanks,
I
man.
wonder what that, he said Graves, I don't know what he said.
You have to the park?
Well, I mean.
Thursday.